as a way of reconnecting dropouts in their education. And in 2003, we received a grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which enabled us to replicate Gateway to College throughout the country. And as you can see by the map, we've been busy at work, and we currently have 41 programs in 21 states, and our programs partner with over 250 school districts. And just to tell you a little bit about our impact, since 2003, we have served over 20,000 students. Our students graduate our program with an average of 22 college credits, so they are well on their way to receiving a post-secondary credential. And 73% of our students that do graduate continue on with their post-secondary education. And just a little stat, in 2012 to 2013, $5.5 million in college scholarships were made available to our students. So they had a lot of their education covered and continued on. So just like I said, just a quick overview on who we are, but now I'm going to pass the mic over to Prentice, who's going to talk a little bit about holistic student support.
Thanks, Mary, and thank you all for joining us today. A few objectives for this very brief call is to understand the national network's principles of holistic student support and get a good sense of how those principles are reflected in our programs practice. And then also we'll have some time at the end for Q&A where we might be able to explore approaches for your own context. So the principles of holistic student support are rooted in an ecological framework and a developmental approach. This ecological framework really posits that growth is influenced by a variety of contexts and settings that individuals experience, which could include school experiences, peers, family responsibilities, cultural factors, experiences of parents, guardians, and more broadly, the communities that our students come from. And essentially, we want to be accepting of all of those dynamics that our students come to us from. The developmental approach is grounded in the following beliefs. The first is, every student has the capacity to become a successful college student academically, emotionally, behaviorally, but it's our job to provide the guidance to help get students there. One of the other beliefs that underline this developmental approach is that it's the job of student service professionals to help students identify and learn the skills that they need to develop in order to be successful. And then the third belief that underlines this developmental approach is that students come to us with all kinds of skills and abilities, and oftentimes they're not even aware of these skills and abilities. And once again, we need to help them identify these skills and help them to be able to learn those skills to reach their goals, to use those skills to reach their goals. So another part of the developmental approach has to do with scaffolding. Thinking about the skills that students need to be successful requires us to structure skills development in such a way that students can actually build on those skills and abilities. And a few examples are those academic skills, those habits of mind, and of course appropriate college-going behaviors. So what are the principles? The first is genuine relationships. The second is safety. The third is strengths-based. The fourth is solution-focused. And then the fifth is community support. So we'll dive into these in a little bit more detail. And thinking about supporting the whole student, these holistic principles are really reflected broadly throughout a student's engagement with Gateway to College, all the way from outreach to graduation and beyond. We think it's important that those models be a part of a student's engagement all along the way. So before I jump into the principles, I will say that these principles are research-based and are the foundation of our philosophy on supporting students in their individual growth and success. These principles were created to reflect the experience of this office, as well as our national program staff and current literature on human development, student success, and education. In terms of genuine relationship, this might resonate with you, but our experience has been that for youth, and because of their experiences, oftentimes they have difficulty establishing trusting relationships with adults. And so I think that this particular principle really gets at that, and it puts forth that we're really looking at adults who are caring, honest, respectful, and attentive, and we feel that that perspective from caring adults really provide that groundwork for the development of that youth to further develop those trusting relationships. But it's also important that the entire team develop mutually respectful relationships with students in order to create the potential for the dynamic change and are able to empower students to become academically successful. We all have had experiences where, I don't know, it could be a doctor's office or it could be in an educational environment, but perhaps the secretary at the front desk is a little grumpy, but the person that you're actually going to go see is actually really kind. And for our programs, we really want these perspectives to be reflected throughout the whole team. And so it's not just the job of the student service professionals to have those genuine and caring relationships, but it's also expected of the entire team, all the way from the core staff through the receptionist. I should say, I'm backing up just for a second, I should say that at our Gateway to College sites, in terms of these genuine relationships, students are typically known by name. Our program staff really provide a firm but yet flexible approach, and they use intrusive advising approach to provide support and guidance. You know, they make themselves accessible to students, and they carry a level of awareness about a student's academic progress as well as their home circumstances. With regard to safety, you know, many of our students come from homes, communities, and school systems where they do not feel safe. This includes physical, emotional, cultural safety, and the safety to explore their identities. And so that's where this particular element comes in. And ultimately, it's really about students having a sense of belonging, as strong relationships with adults and peers and physically safe environments really all contribute to creating that optimum learning experience. And I think at our sites, many students have established really strong relationships with program staff, and Mary and I have the benefit of interfacing with a number of programs over the years across the country, and the common theme that you hear from students is they feel like it's family. And another piece of evidence that we see also is that students who have been referred to other programs, as well as students who have graduated, regularly come back to that program staff because of that sense of belonging that has been developed. Strengths-based. So what's behind this is that students' cultural experiences and individual strengths are really at the core of service delivery. It really comes down to empowering students to recognize their own strengths and build on those strengths for future successes. And I think that understanding the challenges that students have been able to overcome and sort of the resilient characteristics that they possess is key. And I think helping students develop that growth mindset also plays a key role in their personal and academic development. Oftentimes our students have come through some tremendously tough times, and they don't even recognize their own brilliance and resilience through coming through those trying experiences, clear-minded and eager to change their outlook on things. And so it's really our job, again, to help them understand what those are. Along the lines of growth mindset, the work of Carol Dweck and the growth mindset is taught at many of our Gateway to College programs as a unit within their college skills courses. The solution-focused approach is a framework for working with students and really focuses on emphasizing students' strengths and abilities to find their own answers to the challenges that they face. And it really de-emphasizes analyzing and evaluating problems and deficiencies. And instead of fixing problems, it's really about facilitating conversations that help students really construct solutions to the challenges, and then recognizing students as experts in their own lives and drivers of change. And it's amazing the more that you talk to youth about a particular challenge, if you listen close enough, oftentimes we don't have to be the fixers to go in and fix that student, but if we listen to them long enough and ask the right questions, we'll quickly learn that actually they oftentimes have the best solutions. And a number of our sites around the network they employ this questioning approach to help students find the solutions to their own challenges. Okay, so we just covered the solution-focused approach. With regard to community support, this refers to all of the support systems that are available to students. Of course, it includes things like, but are not limited to, family, friends, peers, religious and cultural organizations, and social service resources. But as well, it includes the supports that students provide to the community at large in the way that they contribute to strengthen their own communities. It's up to faculty and staff to embrace students' existing systems and including family, no matter how students might define those families, and other caring adults to provide that support, encouragement, as well as empowerment that students need to succeed. And students are also encouraged to engage with on-campus opportunities such as clubs and groups, as well as accessing available resources and community support systems, creating that comprehensive wraparound services. Students are often provided opportunities to give back to their communities through volunteer work and service learning. And by doing this, students are encouraged to see themselves as making valuable and necessary contributions to the community at large. And a standard practice that we see at our Gateway to College programs is students are encouraged to join clubs, engage in community-based volunteer service. We're also connecting students to community-based resources. We have a student support specialist role in the Gateway to College model called a resource specialist, and a key function of their role is to do just that, connect students to those community-based resources such as housing, utilities, and child care assistant to really help address those non-academic challenges, but they're also connecting students to those academic resources on campus as well. So those are our 5 essential elements and a few points about how these elements are reflected in program practice. And from here, we can take your questions on what might have come up for you. Oh, great question. Can we get a copy of the PowerPoint presentation to share with colleagues? We can absolutely do that, and you Megan, you just reminded me that we also have for you available our principles of holistic student support in the handouts. So on your control panel on the right side of your screen, if you click the red box at the top that has the white arrow inside of it, that will open and close the panel, and at the bottom you'll see a couple of handouts. We have the principles of holistic student support, and we also have a bibliography so that you are familiar with the sources for these approaches. And I will certainly email you a copy of the PowerPoint as well. What other questions do you have? So I'm looking at Sarah, Sylvia, and Yolanda. Any further questions or thoughts about how what was just shared might be reflected in your own practice? Okay. So Mary, you want to? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to wrap up. So we're going to send a follow-up email out to you with the handouts and a copy of the slideshow, and also a link to this presentation as well. But if you have any questions about this topic or about any other questions about Gateway to College, feel free to email myself or Prentice, and we'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And thank you for attending. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And Megan says her audio isn't working, but thanks for answering their question. Yeah, I don't think it was you, Megan. I think the audio is on mute for everyone just to cut down on the background noise. So thank you all for attending, and wish you a great day.